The Queen's conduct. Dark was the night and weird the atmosphere. It rained from time to time. At the intervals of thunderclaps could be heard the moaning of jackals and the weird laughter of spirits. Flashes of lightning showed fearful faces. But King Vikram swerved not. He climbed the ancient tree again and brought the corpse down. However, as soon as he began crossing the desolate cremation ground, the vampire that possessed the corpse said, O king, I do not know whether you have undertaken this perilous task on such a night for yourself or for the sake of a friend. Often, while respecting a friend's remarks, one changes one's own decision. Let me cite an example. Pay attention to my narration that might bring you some relief. The vampire went on. Long, long ago, the kingdom of Kanchanpur was ruled by King Shashanka. His queen Sunanda was extremely beautiful. The king always fulfilled every wish and desires of hers. The queen was especially fond of clothes and jewelry. So the king had kept a skilled weaver and a skillful goldsmith in his palace. These two artisans were the best not only in Kanchanpura but even in the neighboring kingdoms. None could equal their artistry. Every year, the queen's birthday used to be celebrated with great pomp. Both the artisans used to make the royal gifts for the queen. The weaver, an exquisitely embroidered saree, and the goldsmith, jewelry with the most intricate designs. The queen and everybody else used to praise them a lot, and the king used to reward them generously. Now, the king had a childhood friend named Mahendra. Whenever the king had some important work at hand, or whenever a major decision had to be taken, the king always referred them to Mahendra. But what is funny is Mahendra rarely spoke. He used to listen to whatever the king had to say with calm silence. One day, the minister asked the king, Your Majesty, there is something that perplexes me. You tell Mahendra about your problems, but I have never seen him discuss anything with you or give you advice. The king replied, Mahendra is my childhood friend. I understand his feelings by looking at his face. He is a man of few words and doesn't speak unless very much necessary. If he found some fault in what I say, he would surely speak out. A year rolled by and the queen's birthday approached again. The weaver and the goldsmith brought their separate gifts. But this time the queen did not like them and she rejected them. The king asked the artisans to make another set of gifts in all haste. But again the queen rejected them. Thrice the craftsmen brought gifts, and every time the queen sent them back dissatisfied. The minister remarked to the king, Your Majesty, the craftsmen are no longer young. Their work suffers because of their age. The king summoned the two artisans and said, What is the use of my keeping you in the palace? You no longer produce the beautiful things you used to. Your skills seem to have withered away. It can't be helped. It is the fault of your age. So saying, the king dismissed the weaver and the goldsmith who had been standing with their heads hung. Mahendra, who was passing by, heard the king's words. He approached him and said, Your Majesty, you are right when you say that age is at fault. The craftsmen are not to be blamed. Their skill had not lessened in any way, so it is no use taking them to task. Stay calm and try to understand the situation. The king went to the queen's chamber and repeated to her exactly what Mahendra had said. For a long time, the queen stood motionless. Tears began to fill up her eyes, and she said, My lord, I have erred in my judgment. Please call back the two craftsmen and ask them to bring along all the gifts that I had earlier rejected. One more thing, I would like them to be greatly honored. The king carried out the queen's wishes. The weaver and the goldsmith were greatly honored in the court on the queen's birthday. The vampire paused for a moment and then demanded of King Vikram in a challenging tone, O king, what caused the mysterious change in the queen's attitude? Was it out of respect for the remarks of her husband's friend, or is there some deeper reason? And why did the queen shed tears? Answer me if you can. Should you keep mum despite your knowledge of the answer, your head would roll off your neck. Forthwith replied King Vikram. When the minister and the king both remarked that it was the fault of craftsman's age, they believed that with the advancement of age, one loses one's skill. Mahendra came and said that it was certainly the fault of age, but he also pointed out that the artisans had not lost their skill. Only the queen understood the ambiguity of Mahendra's words. She realized that it was her own age that was at fault. Her requirements in clothes and jewelry had changed. What suited her earlier now no longer had the same effect because she was aging. And it is this realization, this awareness of the inevitability of growing old, that brought tears to the queen's eyes, and she wept for her folly in finding fault with the artisans. Having understood that the fault truly lay with herself, she asked the king to call back the two artisans. No sooner had the king concluded the answer than the vampire, along with the corpse, gave him the slip. Thank you for listening.